I think that there is something about not thinking I have to get it perfect. There's an unfinished quality to my paintings that I kind of like because it is a moment in time. It's not forever. So I like that kind of feeling that there's some parts of it that are really, really fine and really well done. And then there's stuff that's just, obviously I rushed and finished it. And that's kind of okay for me. It's kind of how I work and how I live.
Well, I'm really happy that you were able to make time to speak with me today, Christine. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, me too, Sarah.
One of the reasons I'm actually looking forward to talking with you is because you do balance a career that was what I would call a day job when I refer to myself as doing my day job. But you balance that with active participation in art and creative endeavors.
I like how you expanded on that because by no means is there a balance. But you might say that if you looked at the expanse of the things I do, yes, there is a bit of balance.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the types of things that you do.
In terms of my creative activities, I would say I'm a dabbler, I think, in many respects and in terms of what I'm interested in. And maybe that's partially why it's a bit of a stressful situation, too, in trying to find my focus. I don't focus well because I get excited. For example, this weekend, I'm going to participate in a filming. I'm going to be assistant to the producer on a short film because I'm interested. Right. So I try to participate in different things that get me excited, and it's an opportunity. So it's not visual arts, which is my own personal passion, but it's something that intrigues me. So I think that that's sort of how I've fallen into what I do personally for my own artistry is going where the wind blows, so to speak. So it seemed like something good to do, and I'm doing it.
I spoke to somebody a week or two ago who's a huge proponent of that. He does tattoos and paintings and sculptures. And he had been told, he said at one point, somebody said to him, well, it's, you do great work, but you haven't really found your niche yet. That's too bad. And he said, what niche? Why do I need a niche? I'm just exploring all these fabulous things.
Well, and I think that's something to be said about this age. We're in this stage of our lives where you don't really know what that looks like. Having waited until my now 50s to explore it, how do I know what that's supposed to look like? I remember my ex-husband saying to me when he discovered I could draw, "You can draw?" he said at 40. And I thought, wow, you're right. I never exposed him to that part of myself, nor was I. I completely sort of wrote it off. So I'm only in that infancy of exploring it in my mind is it's just at the beginning stages of figuring out what that looks like. So yeah, I haven't found my niche. I haven't found my focus at all, which I like your friend, I quite love in a way.
When did you first start drawing?
Oh, I would have been wee. I remember grade 1. I think it was grade 1, where I did a drawing of a bunny. I think I must have been interested in Watership Down or something like this. So I drew a bunny, and the principal called me into the office, and he was like, "I want to put this in my office." And I thought, oh, that's, that felt really good to me. I was really proud. I felt very, honored. But that's the earliest I remember being interested in the arts. But then, as I said, like university, I gave it up. I gave it up entirely. Didn't touch it until I was 40.
Do you remember making a decision around that? We were joking before about this when I used the word balance, but when things maybe are in balance or out of balance, do you remember making a decision about saying, I'm going to let that go?
I do. So I would imagine it was second year university, and I was in a abstract art class, and I realized I had no clue how to do anything in that genre or that way. And I thought to myself, I'm completely inept. I can't do this. This is ridiculous. I can't even fake it. And I gave it up entirely. So even though I could draw, I was a realist drawer. That was what I was interested in. I never thought that I could just focus my attention on things like that down the road, that I just would get through this hurdle. I think I was going through some other things personally that prevented me from feeling a lot of optimism about that. I also had my dad in my head who would always say, what are you going to do with your career? How are you going to make money at this? And I think that took over, and I happened into the advertising industry, and I just got sucked into that lovely vortex of 16-hour days and a lot of excitement around that, and I just let it go. I just money and some sense of stability, but kind of that it was exciting to be a part of helping other people grow. And I think there was an aesthetic that I really loved about the advertising industry. My boss was really a passionate artist as well. So I felt like in some way I was allowed to still experiment and develop a creativity in myself, but it wasn't with my own two hands. It was more guiding. It was more creative direction. It was more collaborative. So that's how I got away from it and justified it and never thought about it again. Not even a little.
And what brought it back out?
I would say it was my son. So I would have been 40. He would have been maybe 2.5, 3 years old. And as you know, I was married to an actor. And I think as our mutual friend Kate has said, it's not an accident that I happened into the world of an artist. And when Ben was a toddler, I found it very, very stressful to juggle a baby in my house. He was home with me, and I was working full time. And I think I was really struggling to find something that was mine. Everything felt like it was either for my son or for my work. And I was watching my now ex-husband kind of enjoying his experience, right? He was out there being an actor or an artistic director, or directing a show or this and that. And I was jealous. I was absolutely 100% jealous. And I think it was a moment, and I think I got channeled by my friend, and the channeling actually spoke to this very specific thing. Do you remember what you used to spend hours doing when you were a teenager? And I thought, no, I have no idea. Well, let's spell it out. And so eventually it came out, you were a drawer. And so I don't know what the movement from the drawing to the painting was, but I went to I was living in Montreal at the time. I went to the local art supply store, picked up a cheap set of paints, canvas, and sat in my bedroom for some reason with a picture that I had taken of Ben, and I just started painting it. All of a sudden I looked at it and went, that's not so bad. And then serendipitously, Paul was working with this artist, this guitar player at one of his events, who was an art teacher in Montreal, and suggested that I reach out, and I signed up for a master's painting class. And that's how I got in. So I was 40 years old.
Well, there's at least two things that are kind of amazing about that story. One, knowing you, for you to say that's kind of not so bad is a pretty big step for you to acknowledge that actually you're good at that.
Well, I can look at that painting now and I can see the holes in it, but I also still look at it as I experienced joy. Like really, I experienced joy in the practice of it and in the viewing of it. It reminds me of Ben at that time. There's nothing separate between that experience in me remembering him and then seeing the canvas. So I feel like somehow that's a success to me, that I captured something that is the essence of Ben. So I was happy about that.
Well, I want to come back to that, but just quickly, the second thing was painting is not just like drawing with a paintbrush. It's not because I draw a little bit do not give, I don't know the first thing to do with paint. So the fact that you picked up a paintbrush and some paint and you painted is pretty amazing because you didn't get instruction in painting, you winged it. And it's not because you draw well that you did something special with paint. It not like it's a way of seeing maybe, but the tools are quite different.
Well, and I would, and this is where I sometimes look at painting now and I go, I don't know how I did that. I still don't. I was working on a painting yesterday and I was working on Ben's hands and I was thinking hands are really hard. And suddenly I put a stroke down. I was like, well, that looks sort of real. That's kind of weird. How'd that happen? So that's why I say it's like this. I still feel that, oh my God, this is so new. This is so kind of exciting. And it's unbelievably challenging at times too, because the alternative is true as well. It's like, oh my God, that looks hideous. Who do I think I am to be a painter? So there's both. Both exist.
Well, and that's normal, But I've seen a lot of the former examples where you really did hit it out of the park. And what I've seen of your examples of paintings have been faces and bodies. So portraits, you do portraits, but the facial expressions, especially on the kids, I find absolutely captivating. There's something really special about the looks on their faces and their eyes and their I don't know what it is.
Well, it's funny because my teacher would have said, this is Eric, he would have said, if you can do kids, you can do anything because kids are hard. And I also paint very small. So an 8x10 is sort of my typical size. So any little nuance, good or bad, is reflected. It also takes me a long time because I am really particular. But the only reason I'm doing other people's children is because people are asking me to do. But I feel a great, when I think about it, I feel a great honor in doing that for someone because it is different than a photograph. We tend to have archives of volumes of photos of our children. I'm the same, but to choose a moment in time where you can, and I still have enormous joy when I look at a painting I've done of Ben from him being 5 years old or 6 years old. It's nothing like a photograph. It's just something very special. And to me, it is in that slight upturning of the corner of the lip or the little, dip in the, in the little area under the nose, or it's something twinkly in the eyes. Like there's something so mischievous and I don't know. There's just something. I just love it. I feel every time someone asks me to do a portrait of a child, I always say yes, because it's nothing more than an honor.
So I'm curious if we say you do your day job in marketing and creative direction, which you continue to do full time.
I do.
And then you have your painting that you do. If someone asked you, so Christine, what is it that you do? What do you do? What do you answer?
Well, most people, like my son, have no idea still to this day, even when I tell them what I do. So I don't know if I'm very good at marketing myself, that's for sure. But I would say that one might say I'm an entrepreneur. That's how you could describe me, because I think I'm always sort of coming up with different ideas and different ways of living in the world. And the marketing side of it is one aspect of it, but I don't wholly see that as me anymore. So that's been the biggest change in the last few years. And this is pre-COVID. I was really hoping to not be a marketing communications person at the beginning of COVID. I had a number of other projects underway. But it's still there. It's still, again, it pays the bills. I'm passionate about it. When I'm working for a client, I am passionate about their brands. I love the thing that I think is sort of unifying is I love beauty. I love the aesthetic. I love the organization of things. And that is in all forms, whether it's the messaging or the look of the brand, the logo, the treatment, the packaging, the website. Like I love how it all kind of works together. So I think I enjoy projects that do that, sort of bring together all kinds of different elements and and promote something that I think is worthy. I try to work with companies that I think are of that ilk, and and also there's also this collaboration part of it, which I adore. The people I work with on a daily basis are wonderful, and I'm always up for an opportunity to keep working with them. So when I started to think of another project, which I do, and you know me a little bit, I've got 8 different folders. Right now I've got right beside me at this moment, I have 6 or 7 folders, all different projects. But what would I be wanting to do if I wasn't doing my day job? Because I still haven't expressed what that is, right?
I'm waiting to pull the thread through. So all the words and the things that you use to describe your day job, I was looking to see whether you would say entrepreneur, artist, business, creative.
It's interesting that you say that, Sarah, because that is the challenge for me. You can see I fumble over it, right? I'm not fully. Because to be quite honest, I used the word fraud yesterday with my friend who sent me this lovely note encouraging me. I said, I'm still not, I feel like sometimes when I do these things, I'm a bit of a fraud, and that people are being kind to me when they say that they like my work. They're being overly kind versus, do they really think that? And that's a confidence issue. And it's funny because in business, that's not an issue for me. I don't struggle with that. Whereas I do, and when it comes to the art part of me, it's still something that I am not wholly convinced getting there. But I love it. Like, I love the idea of saying entrepreneur, artist, promoter of artists, whatever that looks like. I'm very excited to do that.
I doubt you have that many nice friends that they all just pretend to like what you do.
I think there are a lot of really nice people out there, but no, hey, I'm working on it. Little by little, and I think the more I toil, and I try to help my mom understand this, because she's, while she's a very strong supporter of my art, she's also that person saying, it's done already. Just let it go. You're not going to make any money. You're going to be paid 20 cents a minute or 20 cents an hour or something like that. And I'm trying to explain to her, I'm in a process of trying to discover what it is in me that makes myself an artist. It's not that the painting wasn't good an hour after I started it. It could have been to somebody, but to me, it wasn't. It wasn't quite there yet. And so, yes, I might invest an absurd amount of time in a painting, but I'm trying to do what I never did in school. I never explored. So I never really figured out what it is that I do. I have literally painted 12 to 15 paintings in my life. It's not a lot. So I'm trying to accumulate experience with it and my own understanding of what it is that I do differently.
What do you think it is about those portraits that has attracted you? Why is it that you focus, or what can you see that you're exploring through painting portraits?
I love the realism of it, but what I find the most excitement around is when I cross over a little bit. So it looks like the person, but as you've described, there's a little bit something that's not really represented in a photograph. There's something where I've had some kind of experience with the individual. I'll use my grandmother as an example. My grandmother was a very grumpy lady. There's no question. She had 14 children. That's a lot. It was a lot. And a lot of struggles and challenges and whatnot. So her photographs were of a very grumpy looking woman. And I had a picture reference. My aunt asked me to do a portrait of my grandmother, and I had this tiny, tiny reference picture. It was about 2 inches by 2 inches. And what I was able to do, what I find the most appealing about the finished portrait, is that she looks happy. Because when she passed away at 94, she was relatively happy. She was at peace. There was sort of a warmth to her that she didn't have through her life. And I feel like that came through in the portrait. A little bit of a peace, a calm that maybe wasn't there before. So I don't know. I don't know if that's really answering your question, but it is something that appeals to me in that I don't necessarily want it to look precisely like the person precisely like the photographic reference, if that's what I'm using. I want it to have a bit more to it. And I think that, and that's where I'm exploring, because I don't, as I said, I don't know what that is supposed to look like yet, but it's something that I'm curious about.
So it may be too early for this question, or this question might not make sense, but just as you were talking, it made me wonder what it is about you. Like, what do you think it reveals about you as an artist or as a person that you're interested in portraits that add this other layer, other aspect to the person? It brings something out in the person that you wouldn't necessarily see in a photograph, but you call that out.
Well, I think part of it is it's a celebration of the person. So when someone asks you to paint a portrait, it's because they themselves want to celebrate that individual. So that's why I find such a joy in painting my son, because at every stage it's so exciting. I go, God, how do you change so much? And how are you still like becoming even more amazing? And I feel like so every portrait is a celebration of him. I think maybe I get that, and I get that about brands too. So if I want to find the parallel between my work and my painting, it's that I feel the same passion that my client does for their brand. I feel the same passion towards the person I'm representing in a painting. I really feel like that connection somehow is brought to the finished product. At least that's what I'd like to think. Sometimes it's very stressful from my business perspective, in that I worry as much as my clients do about sales and how that brand is translating, and if it's growing, or if it's, whatever's happening. I feel almost too much, but I'd like to think that that's they get the sense that I'm part of the team, and I'm very participatory, and I'm very much involved. And I think that's true too in my art, is that I'm really sensitive and engaged. And I don't know, I think that's maybe part of it.
And passionate, because what people can't see is your hands are going and your face is bright and you have a huge smile and you're all excited to be talking about this, which is so lovely to see. But I think that's some of what comes out in your portraits, and you say you see it in your work too. And I can imagine that's very true. And that brings to the experience of the viewer, or to the person who's collaborating with you on a team.
I think it's a feeling of newness, right? So I haven't been a painter for very long. So there's not that, okay, this is by rote. Every time I paint or draw, it's like, wow, look at, I made it look like I drew a squirrel the other day. I was like, wow, that looks like the squirrel. Look at me, way. So I get excited about it, which is really goofy, but I quite love that. I love that I'll sit down with a piece of paper and struggle and go, oh God, what am I doing? There's so many more talented people that could draw a squirrel. And then I look at it and go, that's okay. And I show it to my son. He goes, yeah, that's good, Mom. So I'm really like goofy and excited and new. And I think I treat my clients like that too. I'm really like, what you see is what you get kind of girl. I get that excited. Which is sad after 25 years in the business,
There's nothing sad about it. Your clients are lucky. If people came to work that excited every day, everybody would be in a much better mood. They'd be much happier about.
Maybe.
So I want to ask you about a project that you've shared with me that I think does bridge or balance those different aspects of you. So can you tell me about what I think is tentatively called A New Berlin?
Yes. Well, I think where it started, which was kind of fun for me, is a friend suggested I create an exhibition of my work, which would give me sort of this thrust to get some work done. And what I decided at that point was to paint portraits of people that I think are pretty amazing artists in Canada. The idea being I would create a portrait of a friend who might be a clown, and then that person would participate in the exhibition in some way. So either it would be a performance, or it would be a visual representation of some of the works they do, whether it's a fiber artist or a painter or a writer or whatnot. So they would be a part of this exhibition that would be supposedly celebrating my work, but in essence, I would be also celebrating theirs. And that sort of got me excited. And I thought, well, what if we made that into something? So not just a one-off, but what if that was actually something that we could promote and reproduce and make that more of a movement in this region. So as you know, I'm Southwestern Ontario, which there's lots of different festivals and things that are going on in this area. But generally, if we want to see some more sophisticated, edgier things, or just a broader realm of possibilities, we have to leave the city. So we're going to Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, New York, London, England, these kinds of things. So the idea behind A New Berlin would be to bring some of that to this region in a very much a multidisciplinary arts and culture kind of way. Now, what that actually will be looking like down the road, I have no idea, but that's the goal, is to really elevate Canadian artists as part of our daily fabric of our lives. Like, I think that's what's missing for me is that these artists are so talented and so at the top of their game, and yet they're just known in small little pockets versus, really understanding that this is who creates passion for us, creates excitement, creates the what we need to thrive in our society, is to really experience other people's talents. So that's what's exciting me right now, is putting this together, is seeing if it'll actually have some legs, which it does, Sarah, right, Sarah?
It does. It absolutely does. Can you tell me where the title comes from?
So as, is known around this area, we were formerly known as Berlin, which was then changed to Kitchener, which I think was a big error in judgment, but for obvious reasons. And I think there's always been, it's a Germanic community, and we've always sort of appreciated that history. We're all very, we work hard and we're very stoic, and but in terms of artistry, I don't think it's not been part of our makeup. We celebrate Oktoberfest, and we celebrate, that kind of a festival kind of experience. And we do have a jazz festival. We do have a blues festival, but there's not a real thrust, I wouldn't say, to really encourage and embrace the arts in a big way. So the name Berlin is sort of a tipping of the hat to our history as a city, but also to, Berlin, Germany, where there was a movement to take advantage of old warehouse space and sort of create a counterculture, create a rave scene and whatnot to kind of buoy up. And I think it happened more organic than that, but now it's really seen as quite a mecca for artists and music and diversity and in showcasing talent and whatnot. So I think there's that also intrigues me. It's sort of that cabaret feel too, which I really love. It's sort of that mixed art experience. So whether it's in the case of A New Berlin, it would be your visual arts, your literary arts, performance arts, and potentially culinary arts. So it's really trying to find the way to create a melange of those things, but in the spirit of Berlin and the sexiness and the edginess of that. I don't know if it's possible, Sarah. We're in Southwestern Ontario. I wouldn't want to say completely vanilla, but we are verging on vanilla.
It's a traditional communities who haven't been exposed to that kind of experience before.
Sarah, that's much, much better. Thank you.
I think it's a wonderful idea. And so I want to take a step back and say, so if I ask you to put on like three hats, there's the creator of A New Berlin, there's painter, and there's marketing and communications expert. Where do you see vulnerability through those roles? You've kind of alluded to it throughout this conversation, but just more explicitly, where are the areas that you do feel more vulnerable, and what do you do about it?
Well, I thought about this before, because what is vulnerability to me? And to me, it is the opposite of control. So in my day job, I feel most often less vulnerable because I'm more comfortable with, as an entrepreneur, taking risks. Sort of what we do. We try different things, you experiment with different things, and all of that. Some of it works, some of it doesn't, but it's part of the function of being in marketing. It's changing, evolving, it's ebbing and flowing. It's always that feeling of where's it going to take us now? Consumers change. They do different things on a regular basis. They don't do what you expect. So you kind of always have to be, moving and not feeling so stuck. When it comes to this project, I think, I've started a number of projects that have failed. I'm very comfortable with failure. So if nothing comes of it, what I have learned from my failures is that I've found joy in the process, always. So that doesn't scare me in this process as well. Like, I know that the people I'm connecting with, yourself and other people that are getting kind of behind it, that's exciting. And if that's all that happens with it, that's okay. Art is a whole other thing. So the vulnerability I feel in that is, and maybe this is why I'm creating a New Berlin, to distract from me as an artist a little bit. So I put myself in the arena with these other people, but it's not just the focus on me. This is, I think, my little attempt at avoiding a little bit of my own vulnerability, my fear of not wholly being warranted this opportunity of an exhibition. Can I be honest about that? That's kind of how I feel. Is I'm buffering. I'm trying to buffer. I'm trying to control it a little bit, Sarah.
Oh, it's funny because I see it more as kind of like a bootstrapping. It's like I have a little bit less confidence here, a little more confidence here. So I'm going to bring those things together to help me gain the confidence in both. But I don't think there's anything wrong with sort of leveraging strengths from some areas and bringing them together for the ultimate goal of feeling maybe more confident in showing your work as an artist. And it doesn't mean, how does it say? It doesn't mean that you're not the center of attention, because in a way you are, because it's going to be your paintings and it's your concept. The whole concept is yours. But I do think you also have a very authentic interest in, you talked about collaboration in your day job, in collaborating with other artists and creating a multidisciplinary, a bigger picture series of events and experiences. Like, I think that's all part of your thing.
Well, and it's interesting. So, you've written a manuscript, and often people say when you're writing a book, write something that you're interested in, right? And this is the same kind of thing. It's something that I would enjoy. I love being around artists. I love it. And I remember when I've dated a few, and my friends always say, you have a type, you always date artists. I'm like, that's actually not true. But I said, but you don't understand. You say that as a bad thing. You don't understand what an artist brings to the table. Like, no control, right? It's a wild ride, and it's passion, and it's intelligence and talent and excitement and fear and vulnerability and drama. It's a lot of stuff, but it's pretty much life, right there in front of you. There's no deadening it. There's no, oh, let's just stuff that in the corner and like make burgers on the barbecue. It's like wackadoodle. Come on. Artists are fun. They're fun. I like being around artists. So yeah, and when I'm talking about a New Berlin, as you know, it's not just your, typical artist. It would be a burlesque artist or spoken word or, a rave style singer, like, a 20-something and, early 20s, which, I don't necessarily know if it's my kind of, but God, I'd love to be around that energy of, that youth and sexiness and excitement and, fuck you-ness. I love it. I love it all. So yeah, I think being in close, and I think that raises another point about this project, is it's about intimacy, right? It's not about going into a stadium and being in the back corner, which I also hate, nothing wrong with that. But I envision this as something where it feels more accessible, that there might be an opportunity to have a talk back or in a forum of some sort where there's a lot more, interaction with these artists so that you actually understand what makes them tick, much like your your podcast. I see that as a big part of this, is really understanding these people and why they thrive, or what's made them make this choice in their career. Because I think it's fascinating. It's why you're on episode 40-ish. Because artists are fascinating.
They are. I keep them at Zoom length, so I'm shy. So I keep my artists at Zoom length. You're right in there.
Oh, well, I don't know. I think you probably know more about people than yeah, the Zoom might keep you a little bit far away, but I don't know. I think it's a pretty powerful medium. And I think that's part of it too. I love that you're doing this, because I think it's the same kind of idea, right? You're caring about this population of people that really gives our lives meaning. I think that there's some value in really focusing our attention on things where people are putting themselves out there and really sharing something that is unique and of their own spirit.
What I love about your idea is that you bring it to the individual level. So human beings will meet each other and talk to each other and experience art and share back and have those intimate moments, which I think is, super special.
Yeah. And I think the idea too is that art is for all ages. And I think sometimes, because we're a generation of, whether it's 20 somethings or 40 somethings or 50, we have a certain generation. This is what we grew up on. But what I found really special is that I have been exposed to all kinds of things. As you know, I have a friend who's a 98-year-old artist who's still writing and drawing and painting on a daily basis. He is prolific, 98 years old. And then I've got my son, 13 years old, who's an amazing ukulele player. And I have no doubt we'll find a way to be not so struggling artist in the future. He is driven, right? And so I think there's something to be around and to learn from all of these people who have chosen a career in the arts in Canada. I think there's no matter what you're interested in. Like I've told you, I went to a chamber festival in Ottawa a few weeks ago, and I absolutely adored it. I don't know anything about the French horn, but I loved it. I loved being a part of it. And that's the idea of a cabaret. You don't know what you're going to get necessarily, but you're going to be turned on some way, right? If you don't like one thing, you might like another. It's really about the senses of experiencing it in person.
I am looking forward to seeing this idea blossom. And I know it's going to be a really wonderful, wonderful experience that you create for people. It's going to be incredible.
I hope so, Sarah.
Yeah.
You're my partner in crime. Make it happen.
Full disclosure.
I've just said it out loud, so you have no choice.
No, absolutely. No, I'm thrilled to be involved and to participate in any way. I do see links between what I'm trying to do and then what you're trying to do. And then those opportunities to collaborate are so special. And then I know you're already reaching out to other people in funding, in creative concepts and partnering. And so I am really very much looking forward to this and to seeing your paintings. That will be the hub around what all of this happens.
I have a lot to do, Sarah.
No pressure. I think it's time for you to go.
I know, right? No, I know. There's a lot to be done, but that again is part of the, as I said, the part of the process is not really sure where it's going to end up, but moving forward anyway. And that is a daily challenge, right, for all of us, is finding something to keep on. Because you have, it's as an artist, again, it would be, I'm sure it's one of those things where you constantly have to put yourself out there and do so willingly and without control and without knowing what it's going to look like. And that's this project in a nutshell. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, with all the mad skills that you bring from marketing and communications, because it seems like such a perfect marriage, honestly, of everything that all the skills you've developed in your career, your professional career so far, and then just expanding that into the realm of art and creating experiences for people. I think it's the boat going down the river, just the
Wow.
river's widening.
We'll take what you just said and we'll make some notes, and you can write my new LinkedIn profile because you probably get it better than I do, which is wonderful. I love it. I love hearing you speak about it because it makes me happy that you get it. Again, it's mine. It's like, is it really something? I said to you, I had a meeting today and I thought, is he going to like it? Is he going to like the idea? Is he going to get it? Or is he going to tell me I'm an idiot? And he went, yeah, I like it. And he's no slob. Like he's not, like he's never been down this road or experienced immense success and also immense failure. So it was lovely. It was lovely. And that's been sort of the fun part about it is having those conversations. So.
Well, just quickly on that note, I will venture to say that you and I are a bit alike in that to keep momentum going, I benefit a lot from having somebody else say, I think you're on the right track. And if I don't get quite enough of that often enough, I start to slip back because I've spoken to other people who are just 100% internally motivated to go forth. And I think, like you said, you and your business, me and my business outside of this, I'm comfortable. I'm good with what I'm doing. But as soon as I turn my focus to what I consider a less, I'm not sure what the right word is, but I'm just less confident. Absolutely. I just start to stutter.
Yeah. And that's why I find I admire these artists so much, because there's me and then there's them, and them is, I'm an artist. What are you talking about? There's no question. This is what I do. I'm a clown. I'm a burlesque dancer. Like I love what I do. And there's a commitment to that. We, the ones who have the full-time, the work, the day jobs are the ones going, if I dip my little toe in here, is it going to be okay? And it's a whole other scary, right? It's because this will pay the bills. And this isn't so much. But you really, really want to get there. And so I think there is again, why I love being around these immensely talented, fabulously committed people is that they're doing that thing that I think many of us in society would love to do, right? Is just live with authenticity and joy and giving of themselves. Like I think there's a lot of us who suppress a lot of this spirit in ourselves, whether it's I want to be a writer and they don't write, I want to be a painter and I don't paint, and maybe it's something that happens too in our 50s, that maybe 40s, because that's when it happened for me, is you realize that it's not enough just to pay the bills, and there's something more to it. So back to the beginning of your discussion, it's about balance. I don't know what balance. It's not really like a, completely balanced situation, but it's injecting, and maybe that's what I love about this as well. It's like, okay, for a few hours in this experience, say a New Berlin experience, you get to be around people that do this, that you get to soak it all up and enjoy it. And I know you've had this moment when you've seen a live band or a play or something where you just were blown away. You carry it with you. So I think if you are not actually a practicing artist, the second best way is to just be in the presence of that.
I think if I had to summarize the whole conversation in a way, something you said, because I expected you to say something different. So when you said, there's more of us that maybe want to be artists because, and I was expecting you to say, we want to make great paintings, we want to write great books because and what you said actually was because we want to experience that joy, right? And so passion is almost like the theme of this whole conversation, is it always seems to come back to what it means, maybe, and you can correct me, what it means for you to be an artist is to be able to express passion.
It's just to express. And it's not even about, I could just look at my paintings in my house. No one would see them and I would still find joy. I don't need, in essence, this is what I've been working on. This is the whole arc of my last few years of total mental breakdown. is to get to a place where I myself find joy in myself and what I do in a day, what I put out in a day, what I experience in a day. And that could be with other people and it could be just all by myself. But I think that's ultimately where we're all trying to get to, is to find that, can we find that joy, peace, passion within ourselves? And I would say that sometimes that's through your own art. So whether it's writing, whether it's, music, or, whatever it is, basket weaving, who knows, right? It's like it could be crafting. It doesn't really matter, right? What is that feeling of joy and passion and, for yourself? So it's not, it's lovely that we get validation from outside, but really, to me, this has been the biggest learning in the last week or something, is just truly feel it myself.
Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.